Welcome to Distance Learning with Common Sense. My name is Tali Horowitz, and I'm the New York Education Director. This conversation will be posted to our Common Sense Education YouTube channel, along with links and resources shared and discussed in our chat today. So let's go ahead and get started. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our two guests, Laura Ogando and Jackie Patanio. And before I ask you to introduce yourselves, I just want to say happy Digital Citizenship Week to both of you. And you both look lovely. I love the choreographing of the red glasses with the red shirt so that you guys are matching. So I'd love, Laura, for you to introduce yourself, tell us where you work, some background about yourself, and also how you've been a good digital citizen because it's Digital Citizenship Week.
Well, we definitely didn't coordinate this, but we're just so in sync that it just happened. Like
we're always in sync.
Totally. So folks, my name's Laura Ogando. I have been with the DOE. This is actually the start of my 11th school year. I started out as a self-contained teacher, so my background is in special ed. I did that for 5 years, worked also as an ICT teacher. And then most recently, before my gig now, I was also my school's digital literacy specialist. So I've been deeply concerned with, our students with disabilities, but also integrating technology into all the content areas. And now I work as the program manager for the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion. And so I'm not only making sure that we're weaving technology into our content areas, but making sure that that content that we create is also digitally accessible. So I'll pass it over to Jackie to introduce herself.
Hey everybody, I'm Jackie Patanio. I also work at the New York City Department of Education. My present job is I'm an Edtech instructional lead for District 31, supporting all the schools pre-K to 12, actually 3K to 12 in Staten Island. My former life, I was at PS16 as a classroom teacher and also as their instructional technology coach, which was, that was life. I loved being at that school, and that was where we were really immersed in the common sense world, and where I started by getting my educator certificate, and then eventually became an ambassador, which I am now. So really big on making sure that we're infusing digital citizenship into all the content, and that's sort of the focus of my work. It's the EdTech world, but where does DigCit live within all of the content throughout all the grade bands? So I've been a good digital citizen this week. I've been working with a lot of parents on various ways they could support their kids, because I too am a parent of a 6-year-old, and I have been working with, like I said, parents and in my own household on these tools that you could find on Wide Open School and Common Sense.
Great. Thank you so much to both of you. So you just mentioned Wide Open School. It's a website that offers a lot of high quality content from kindergarten to 12th grade, actually from preschool on. There's reading resources, math, emotional well-being. We know that educators are teaching everything and basically looking for resources everywhere. Can you help our educators understand what exactly Wide Open School is and how you're using it? And Laura, do you want to start?
Sure. So I saw Wide Open School, I think it was back in April, just around, obviously at the height of the pandemic when it was launched. And I remember the very first time I visited the site, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So if you haven't checked it out, it basically has everything. And I think one of the features I like best is that it can be sorted and organized in so many different ways. So if you're looking for a particular resource around a topic, like say you want to get some art support, or you're looking for like a social studies thing, you can look by topic. But you can also, if you would like, search by grade band. So if you're trying to support your pre-K student or all the way up to high school, they've got those resources there as well. So it basically just has everything. And it even has resources for parents, because we know that so many of our families right now need additional support, right? What do you do on those days that your kid is home, right? It's not their in-person day, right? And parents need support too. So it just is such a robust resource. And I think that's why I love it so much. And it fits in line with what Common Sense already does, because if you've been to Common Sense's site, you know that there's so much on there. So it's only fitting that Wide Open School has everything else you could possibly want.
So Just to piggyback off of what Laura is saying, back in April, I came across Wide Open School and I was like, wow. I'm like, this is like, it's everything we need in one spot. And again, myself as an educator, as an administrator, and as that parent, I'm like, this is a tool that I need to use for myself and I need to share this out with others. Again, Laura touched on all great points, that it's organized well. It has activities for students, but again, virtual field trips were a huge thing for me. Virtual field trips for my 6-year-old, and then being able to say to a high school student, you can go on over and sort and filter and find some virtual field trips for yourself at that grade band. All really, high level stuff. And, some of the other things that kind of fell in line with that or the offline activities where I was using Tasty as a link, and just a way to boost my son's self-confidence, and then also sharing that with other educators, like how they can use these offline activities and how they can use the, the daily planner. I'll talk about that later on, but the daily planner was another one that really stood out to me and helped me as an educator and as a parent.
Yeah, that's great. And I appreciate that you brought up the offline activities, because I think I think both educators and families are looking for breaks from screen time, as well as, not everybody has great access to great devices or to strong broadband. So can you talk a little bit more about some of those offline activities and how that kind of also can build life skills?
So it's actually funny because this is an offline activity coupled with the life skills activity. It was technically for 6 to 8, but it was an activity and it was based around the Tasty, which is a online recipe. I'm sure everybody has seen that. It comes up on your Facebook feed and you think that you could make the recipes, but needless to say, we had the scrambled egg recipe. And what I did was I was like, this is a great thing to do with my son. So what we did was I watched the video. I explained to him what step-by-step meant. We put the computer away and then we went and we made scrambled eggs together. And again, for a child, it's like that process. And we just talked it through and we talked step-by-step. And then to go back to the online piece, he goes, can you record me so I can upload it to YouTube? Because I want to share with other people what I learned from that video that we did together as a life skill. So it was a lot of things that kind of connected together.
That's amazing. And now he's making you dinner every night. You don't have to worry about that.
He's better than me.
As we were talking about it, so, Wide Open School does have, I think it's at this point over 85 partners. So all of their high quality curated content. And I know, Laura, there's some resources you've especially appreciated. Can you share one of them?
Sure. So, that's the thing about Wide Open School. And that's what I was trying to say is that, so many educators right now are having to curate and like sift through what's out there online, and it's overwhelming, right? So at least with Wide Open School, they've done that for you. They've done the curation, and that you're getting really quality stuff. So one of the things that I noticed, and I think is so important, especially now because we're spending so much time in front of our devices and we're sitting, I find myself spending so much of my day sitting in front of a screen. So I love that you have Go Noodle on there, because I absolutely love Go Noodle. I personally, I'm not even kidding about this. Like, I would put it on for my students, but I would do some of the dances. And my favorite is the Blazer Fresh crew. So if you are a Go Noodle fan, I'm calling them out because they're amazing. And I would do the dances. And I remember my kids would be watching me going, Miss O, like, you know this? I'm like, yeah, don't you? Come on. But I love that they've got those activities on there, because again, we need so much right now. It's obviously from the academic standpoint, but as Jackie was highlighting, I mean, they literally have everything. So if you're wanting to like get recipes to cook with your child and do some of that life skill work, if you need like a brain break, they've got that. If you need a movement break, SEL resources, I mean, it's all on there. So it really takes the guesswork out of like finding that thing you need and then trying to verify, because that's the other piece. You might find something on the internet, but how do you know if it's good? How do you know if it's high quality? How do you know if it meets, even just like the basic privacy stuff? I mean, there's so much out there. And that's why I really like Wide Open School, because I know it's been vetted. Right? It's safe to use with my kids. It's safe to use with our youngest learners. Remember, we've got our 3K and pre-K kids. And so we need stuff that's quality. We can't be giving them just any old thing we find on the internet.
And I know, Jackie, you mentioned the daily plan before. To me, like, that's the juicy part. So can you explain what that is a little bit more and how you use it?
So just to connect to Laura's last point, because this is why the daily plan comes in handy, what happens is when a child is maybe left to their own device, or if they're with a grandparent or somebody else in the family, they might just be like, hey, we'll put them on anything. We don't have anything extra for them to do. So they wind up on things like TikTok when they shouldn't be, or maybe they wind up on Roblox, or seriously, things that they shouldn't be using because the person who's watching them and supporting them doesn't know any better. So they're just like, hey, the kid said to pick this, and they're playing with it. So the resource from Wide Open School that I rely on heavily for myself when I turnkey to parent coordinators and to other educators is the daily planner. So on the website, you go to the daily plan, and it has activities within the grade bands. And mostly they're online activities that you can move throughout, and you can copy the URL and you could either share it out with someone, or at the very bottom of the site, there's a PDF version of a planner and a Google Doc version of the planner. So you could simply make a copy of the document, which is what I've been encouraging people I work with to do. Or you could simply print out the PDF version, which is great for old school, and just write in what needs to be done. But you can take those websites and those activities and place them into the doc, so that when you're passing your child off to somebody else, sounds so lovely. You're passing your child off to somebody else, you can give them a plan and say, here, this is what they can do in case of, let's say they're done with their ELA for the day, they can access this website, and you know that it's high quality, as we mentioned before. So the daily planner has been huge. I know that I've been using it again with the parent coordinators, with teachers, and for my personal life.
Great. And I love that you brought up the, child caring and having that. And I just actually want to share this personal anecdote. We had a situation, my kids are both fully remote, and for whatever reason, story time with the librarian wasn't happening. So we were able to go into reading and writing. I clicked on video and found a read aloud, and boom, that was like handled for the moment. So that was really a lifesaver. I also wanted to go back to a little bit thinking about how I kicked off the conversation. And Laura, I would love to hear how you're being a good digital citizen this week too. If you guys can share too, I know there's the digital citizenship bucket, and how you've used that, or how you've seen teachers or families using that.
Sure. So, I mean, I have been working with Tali this past week to provide a ton of different PDs to our educators across the DOE. So we did a session, I believe it was Wednesday, all the days merged together. But we did a session Wednesday, and then this morning we did a session specifically geared for our parent coordinators, who we know are a key component here in New York City, especially with supporting our families. So we've been working on that, and I'm trying to just spread this knowledge about, it's DigCit week, but let's not limit it at a week, right? I'm a big proponent of like this, let's use this week to kind of kick it off and get excited and share the resources and share what this week is all about. But let's make sure we're carrying it throughout the school year, because now more than ever, we all need to be really good digital citizens, right? And whereas this work was oftentimes relegated to the tech teacher or maybe the librarian in the building, we are now all tech teachers, right? We're all using these online platforms to teach our students, to connect with them, and having them, learn and grow. So every teacher ought to be doing this work. So I'm trying to really push for that. That has been my main goal for this week, is just to spread the knowledge that common sense is out there, and all the resources on that website are amazing. And then, I'm sorry, Tyler, I already forgot your next question. It's Friday. It's been like the longest week ever.
Friday. How are you being a good digital citizen this week?
I've been trying to disconnect, and that is a really big piece of, all of what we're doing right now. We're all online, and we're spending so much time. And I do want to point out that there are differences, right? So spending time online learning and growing is very different than just sitting in front of the TV or watching Netflix for hours on end, right? But making time to like disconnect from our technology know when to take a break, even just standing up and taking a stretch. That's so important, because I found myself over the last few months just like taking back-to-back meetings. And I know it's the same for our students. It's the same for our families. We're having that Zoom fatigue. We're having that, like, you know, okay, we're spending a lot of time in front of our screen, and yes, it's good, but I still need that break. So I've been trying to be more mindful of like, all right, it's time to take a break, or it's time to just quit for today. It's okay. I'm gonna go take that walk. I'm gonna make sure I do a little exercise, because I need that for like my body and my mind and my soul. So it's definitely something I'm doing away from the computer to be actually a good digital citizen.
So it's funny, I'm just going to jump in, because what Laura is saying, there is that whole section on Wide Open School about self-care. It's not something that I've used yet. I have my own self-care routine, but I do know that it is there for those who maybe are new to it and want to look deeper into where self-care information can be found.
That's great. Thanks. Yeah, I've used that. It's under specifically like the teacher resources. It's family and teacher resources. And I think that's such a great point, because, and I do want to actually thank everyone who's watching today. This is incredibly hard work. We are in a really challenging time right now. So thank you for taking the time to work with all of our kids and teach them. And I really hope that you are taking care of yourselves. You know, in our last few minutes, I'd love for you guys to share any more favorite resources or sites that you've loved on Wide Open School, any of the partners, in terms of helping teachers really find those nuggets of what they might be looking for. Oh,
hold on, I'm muted. Of course, as always, I'm muted. That's the story of our lives these days. This is not necessarily a partner, but I've found the search tool on Wide Open School to be extremely helpful, especially when turnkeying to other people, because sometimes when you're looking at the whole, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. So if you just want to look for Zoom, or if you just want to look for Classroom, you just simply go to the search feature and there it is, and everything is popped up there for you. With that being said, I do like Noggin. If we're going to talk about our favorite partners, Noggin and PBS.
Can you just explain a little bit about both of them?
PBS, sure. PBS I've been using for lesson development and lesson resources for teachers, for them to be able to use. And Noggin is more of student activities to be able to do with our younger kids. So kind of self-paced and open up and activities with students.
That's great. Thank you. Laura, how about you?
So one of the resources I really love, and I have used it before, but Brainpop, and that was one that I saw on Wide Open School. And I know, especially, you know, I have that elementary background. I taught basically every grade from K all the way up to 5, and every one of my kids enjoy Brainpop. It's just like those videos are so engaging. The activities on there are so amazing. And so again, it takes the guesswork out of finding that really good resource, because if you're a parent and you're not sure and you're coming to the site and you see, oh, like, okay, that's Brainpop, like, how do you know? But the truth is, like, once you play it, it's like you're sold, you're hooked on it. And those videos are so engaging. They're so just like relevant to kids, and they're funny, because like that's the other piece of it. Like, I get it. We have to hold high academic standards for our kids, right? We have to make sure that we're providing them with the resources they need to really grow and learn this year. But it can't just be straight academic content, right? Like, that content has to be fun. So that's why I really like Brainpop, because they kind of merge the two. And one of the great things about Brainpop is, if you've never seen their stuff, is it's not just for you know, the elementary crowd. They've got, and it is featured on Wide Open School. They've got the ELL resources on there. There's Brainpop in Spanish and French. So if you're looking to kind of really reach a wide audience, that's one of the resources featured on there, and it is absolutely amazing.
And we also have the activities in Spanish. So up on the top where it says student activities, family and teacher center, there's also the resources in Spanish for families, which was great for me to be able to share with our community since we have a large Spanish speaking population out here on Staten Island. And it really allows for them to engage in the resources with their families in school and outside of school.
Great. And while we're sharing, I think I've shared this with both of you, but there's a really great resource too. It's from the Library of Congress, and it's Jason Reynolds, who's a YA author, and he's talking about an activity for students to create a medal for themselves. And I've seen both Laura and Jackie use this with educators for doing professional development and parents to take some time and reflect on what they're all doing well. And it's a really nice, interactive, fun activity that gets people to reflect. And I actually, as we're reflecting on that, before I ask you both for your kind of final closing remarks, is I'd love, this is the end of Digital Citizenship Week. We're also, kind of finishing up the second month of school, at least in New York since we've started. What are some things that you're proud of, that you're feeling good about yourself with?
I'm feeling good that I have a really great crew of folks to work with, and that DigCit has become so paramount and important in our lives, and it's getting out there to more folks. I've had the pleasure of working with Tali, Laura, and other members of our team to build these courses and really push forward what it means to be a good digital citizen and get the message out there that this is so important and that it's everybody's involved. It's everybody's investment in our kids and in ourselves.
I echo everything that Jackie said. I'm really proud of the fact that, even though we're in these crazy times and, we're still in pandemic mode, I'm so invigorated by the educators that I am meeting. And, I feel like even though this has been so challenging, it's also been really uplifting, right? I've gotten to connect with folks that I don't think I would have otherwise been able to connect with. I've gotten to learn about things and see different resources. And so I've always been a glass half full kind of a person. And I try and take in as much of the good as possible, because I feel like if we focus on the negativity, it's just going to bog us down, right? But instead, I'm choosing to focus on all the amazing things that are happening, all of our educators who are banding together, and I'm just amazed. And I'm so fortunate to be included in these types of communities where I get to learn and grow and share and connect and all of that amazing stuff. So I'm along for the ride.
I love that. I love that. Thanks, Laura. So in closing, what are some takeaways you want all of our educators to walk away with?
Well, on that note, we're in for another really tough year, right? Let's just put it out there on the table. We're still in the pandemic. They're talking about another wave. We know that school this year is it's different. And so if I could say anything to the educators who are on this call, to the parents who may be watching, is just, don't let it get you down. Just keep going. Lean on those around you for support. Know that you don't have to have all the answers. It's okay. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I'm having a tough time. It's okay to feel like sometimes you don't got it. It's okay, right? Because ultimately we're all doing as best we can, and we're all going to make it out of this, right? We will, and we will be stronger. But it's okay to struggle. And I think that is a really, really important message that maybe not enough folks have heard. But it's okay to not be at 100 or, even at 90. Sometimes you're going to wake up some days and it's going to be all right, I made it through in one piece. That's it. That's all I got today. That is okay.
Thanks, Laura. How about you, Jackie?
Laura, you encapsulated everything, and this is why we have the same mind, but just lean on each other. Find yourself a PLN, find yourself a group of people, a group of educators, a group of parents, whoever it is, to talk to, lean on, talk about your struggles, gather information, again, don't be afraid to say you don't know, because a lot of us don't know, and we have been scared, and we've been kind of going through this together. But, you know, just figure out what works best for you, and definitely stay networked to others who can support you within your school community, within your home community. And that's it. You know, keep going to Wide Open School and building your repertoire.
Great. Well, I really want to thank you both so much for taking the time to talk with us today. Really, really appreciate it. And I want to thank all of you who joined us. You can find this distance learning chat and our other ones on our YouTube channel. And thanks again. Wishing you all a wonderful upcoming weekend.